Dear students, let's start course of visual programming. It's lecture number 12 on the topic boxing, casting and polymorphism. This is our outline. First, I'll explain boxing and unboxing as they are opposite of each other, and then I'll explain boxing and unboxing with the help of example and polymorphism. Then I'll explain the types of polymorphism. As we know that we have two type of polymorphism, static and dynamic. So static polymorphism is also called overloading, and dynamic polymorphism is also called overriding. So I'll explain that with the help of example. Then I'll give you assignment. Then I'll show you the references which I have cited for preparing these slides, and then I'll take your question answers. So let's start with boxing and unboxing. As you know that here I'll explain that with the help of example, that in programming you have data types, right? So we have two type of data types, like value types and reference type. In the value type, as you know that you have integer, float, double, and in the reference type, as the name indicates, that it has uh, reference instead of value. So that's why this is called reference type. And in the reference type you have object. So when you want to convert from the value type to reference type, this is called boxing. And uh, when you do the opposite of this, means that when you convert the reference type to value type, we call it as unboxing. So let's start with boxing. So here you can see that uh, let me take a pointer. So I'll take pointer here. So this one is a pointer. So I'll place that on the top. So now, so converting a value type to a reference type. This is called boxing, as I explained earlier. And here you can see that I have value type like integer, float, character, double, and then I have here I have a reference type which is called object. So here you can see this is the normal pattern of C# program. So it starts with, as you know that it starts with system, then namespace. The namespace name is my namespace, and then you have access modifier. As you know that this is the signature of a method, that how you define a method. So here you have access modifier, return type, name of the method, and then option list of parameters. I think you know this because we have covered object oriented programming, and these are the last topic of object oriented programming, so you know all all these things. So here you can see that I have integer value of 100, and then I'll assign the integer value to object value. Here this step is, here you can see that we are converting the value type as integer. I is integer type, which is value type. So I am assigning the value type to reference type. So this is called boxing. And then I put I equal to 200. So when I print, you know that whenever you write that system dot console dot write line, so what it does that you display the value of that variable which is in the bracket. So here we have I. So you see that you have assigned 200 to the I, because this 200 has replaced this I value. So you have 200, and as you assign the integer value to the object, so now the value of I object is also 200. So it also displays, sorry, it displays 100, because here at this step you have integer value 100. So 100 will be assigned to the IOBG, this is which is a variable of reference type. So 100 will be displayed. Now come to its reverse process, that is called unboxing, converting a reference type to a value type. This is called unboxing. So here we have the same, that we have object and we have value type. this is the traditional uh, flow of our program, that how you write C sharp program. So here you have a namespace name, then you have a method signature, and here, as you know, that you must have a main method in your program. So here, this is the main method, and now you assign, now you are defining I 100, and then you have here, you are assigning integer value to the object, and here you do the explicit casting. I think you know this step, that here, when we were assigning the integer value to the object, we didn't write explicit step. But here you can see that we have given integer, because object will be what type you want to cast, you have to write here. This is the step of explicit conversion. Whenever you do the explicit conversion, so you need this step. So I am converting this object type to integer, and then the integer will be assigned to this j value. Now when you display this uh, uh, I value and obj value, you will get the value 100 on both sides. So this means that object value which is assigned to this iobj, which is assigned to I, is now converted to IOBG object type. So now reverse process is done. So whenever you assign a small value to the big value, we call it as implicit uh, conversion. So here we have explicit conversion, because we were assigning the integer to the object. So this is implicit conversion. So we need not to write any step here, that we write object here. But here, when you were convert when you were converting this object type to integer, so you need this explicit step, that you have to write here what type you want to convert this object value. Like I am converting integer here, so I wrote integer. If you want to convert float, so you have to write float, and you know that once the value of object is converted into float, so you must have float value data type here to store the value of that float value. Here, in this step, you get the 100 at each step. So this is the example of boxing and unboxing. Now come to casting. Implicit casting, and there are two type of casting: implicit casting and explicit casting. Implicit casting means automatically, as I write here, I wrote here that it is done automatically, means converting a smaller type to a larger type. You know that if the type to which you want to convert is bigger, so you need not to mention, because there is no loss of value in that. So we call it as implicit casting. Like for example, if you want to convert the character to integer, okay, or you convert the integer to long, or to convert the long to float, or float to double, so you need not to mention explicitly that in which type you want to convert, because there is no loss of value. As you know that, for example, if I'll explain that with the help of example. So here we have explicit casting, which is done manually. Why it is called explicit? Because in that kind of values, you normally have chances of loss of values. Like for example, if you want to convert the double to integer, for example, if you want to assign you want to assign double to float, or float to long, or long to integer, or integer to character. So definitely, as you know that character size is 1 byte, and integer size is 2 byte, and long size is of 8 byte. So if you want to convert the 8 bytes to 4 bytes, so definitely there will be a loss of value. So compiler compiler will not do this until you will not explicitly mention that I am ready for that loss of value. So here I'll explain that with the help of example. Like you can see here that double, my double, this is a variable, and this is my integer type. As you know, the integer is of 4 byte and double is of 8 byte. So you know that 4 byte can easily be contained in 8 bytes, so there is no loss of value. So that's why it is called automatic casting. But and for example, if you want to print this, you can do that and you will get the same. So the important thing which I want to mention here, that if you want to convert uh, small value to big value, like for example here you have integer and you want to convert the integer into double, and integer is of 4 byte and double is of 8 bytes, so you can easily convert the 4 byte to 8 byte. There will be no loss of values. So compiler does that without without any hesitation. But on the other hand, for example, if you here if I can explain that in explicit casting, that must be done, you have to done this manually. Here you can see the example, like for example you have a double value of 9.78, and now for example if you want to convert this double, now double is of 8 byte and integer is of 4 byte. Now if you want to contain the 4 byte, or if you want to assign the 8 byte to 4 byte, definitely there will be a loss of values. So how you will do that? Compiler will not do that for you, and you have to do that manually. That's why this is called explicit casting. So you can see here that I explicitly mentioned here that I want to convert this double into integer, and I am being a programmer or a developer of this program. I am taking this responsibility that if any loss of value, if any loss of value happens, so I'll be responsible. So you will have to do that explicitly. So now double is converted into integer, and I have to mention here. For example, if I want to convert my double into float, so I have to mention float here, and I have to give the same type here. So compiler will do that for me. But if any loss of value will happen, so compiler will not responsible for that, as I mentioned earlier. So explicit casting, so we have a two type of casting: implicit casting and explicit casting. Implicit casting, compiler will do that automatically, but explicit casting, you have to do this step like this way, that I am taking this responsibility to convert this longer type to smaller type. So you can do that. This is called explicit casting. Now, as we are studying conversion, I have explained that in classes, but I want to because one of the students asked me about this conversion, so I am repeating that again. So in C sharp you have some in C sharp we have some methods which which help us to do conversion. Like we have a convert class. So convert dot to boolean, this will convert to boolean type, as as its name indicates. So convert dot to double, convert to double, and this is converted to string, and this will convert into integer, and this will convert into long type. So so we can do conversion, explicit conversion, by this way, as I mentioned. This is the traditional pattern of the programming. If you have read Java, so Java is do that do that the same way. But C sharp has some uh, classes which helps you to do that. So for the conversion or the casting, you can use these methods as methods as well to do the casting. So these are the methods which help you to do the explicit casting. So here I'll explain that with the help of example, that how they work. Like here, for example, I have my integer of my integer and I have assigned the value of 10 to it, then I have this value and I declare my double variable here, and then I have here I have a, bool type which is normally true or false, as you know. So here I am converting that console.writeLine convert to string. Now I am converting this integer, which is my integer, which is of 10. I am converting this integer type to string. Here I am converting this my integer type to double. Here my this double value will be converted into integer, and here my bool value will be converted into string. So you can do that by using these methods as well. So they are also very useful methods in C sharp .NET. Now come to polymorphism. Poly means many, and formalism means forms. This is Greek word. So occurs when classes they are related to each other by inheritance. I'll explain that in a while. Inheritance let us inherit field and methods from another class. Polymorphism uses those methods to perform different tasks. This allow us to perform a single action in a different way. Like for example, if you have a class of animal, and in class inherited is has some child classes like dog, cat, lion, and each has like the same method, like for example, food or walk. Like for example, dog can walk, and lion walk, and cow walks, but their walk is different, and they take different kind of food. So I'll explain that with an example in the next slide. For example, think of a base class called animal. For example, you take base class as animal, and in the animal class we have a animal sound. Derived classes are pig, cat, dog, and birds. They they also uh, they also have their own implementation of the animal sound, the pig, og, and the cat meows, etc. So I'll explain that with the help of example. So I'll go through these uh, descriptions first. So we have two type of polymorphism: static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. So a static polymorphism, two or more method having the same name with different arguments. Same as known as overloading. As you know that in a class, if you have a same name method, but they are differentiated on the basis of their on their they are differentiated on the basis on the basis of their number type of order of arguments. So you call it as overloading. So static binding, as you know that when you have object and you want to call a method of that class, so you bind your object with a method. So this is called binding. So static binding means that you bind before the compile time. That's why this is called static binding. And this is also called compiled time binding, because when the compiler was doing binding, so all things will be fixed. Like you have the same you have the objects, and the object will be binded with the method, that which object will call which method. So this is binding, and this is defined before the compilation is done. So this is also called early binding, as early binding early binding as well, because this is done before the runtime. Here I'll explain that with the help of example. Here you can see that we have a class calculation, okay, and we have method like sum. The method name are same, but here we have two arguments, and here we have three arguments. So as I mentioned, that if the method name are same, but they are differentiated on the basis of their number, order, or type of argument, we call it as uh, static binding. So here you can see that we have three arguments, and here we have a two argument. so they can be differentiated under the term of overloading. So we called it static polymorphism, because here the action will be they are same. Like we studied in polymorphism, the poly means many and formalism mean forms, but their names are same, but their action is different. So here you say that their names are same, but their action will be different. Here you are adding two variables, and here you are adding three variables. So this is called static polymorphism. Here you can see that first we first we uh, first we define object, like we have obj, and here you can see we have object. Here the object will be created uh, uh, through default constructor, and it will be assigned to this object. And then here what we are doing, that we are binding. You can see, as we studied, that we have binding. So you have object name and you have a method name. So what you are trying to do, that you are binding your object with a method. So now compiler knows that which method will be called. As we have three arguments, so three argument method will be called. And here we have two arguments, so two argument method will be called. So this is how the differentiation is done by the compiler. Now come to dynamic polymorphism. But before starting that, I'll explain with the help of example. Here you can see that we have an animal class, and in animal class we have an animal sound. Like different animals have different sound, as you know that. So we have a pig, we have a dog. Pig sound is different from dog or a cow. So the method names, they are different, but the method name, they are same, but their action is different. And on the other hand, as you know, that in polymorphism, normally polymorphism in C# is a little different from other languages. Like in Java says that if you have different classes, as you know that we have a different classes, these two classes are inherited from animal class. So we have a different class. So if you have the same method signature in two different classes, and they are in the relation of inheritance, we call it as overriding. But in Java, but in C#, this is a little different. That, for example, as I'm explaining here through these slides, that I didn't mention anything here, and I am taking the same concept as the Java says. That, for example, if you have a two different methods, two same method in different classes, and they are in the relation of inheritance, this is called overriding. But this is not like that. But this is not like in C#.NET. Like here you can see that we have a class animal, and here we have this method which is called animal sound, and this is a simple message that the animal sound is generated, or like this. And here you can see that we have a class pig, and this is the relation of inheritance. And then animal class, we are inheriting pig class from animal class. And here you can see this method, we have the same method name, and there are two different classes, and they are in the relation of inheritance. So normally languages say that this is inheritance, but this is not inheritance in C#. Here you can see that we have inherited another class, that is dog class, which is inherited from animal, and we have the same method like we have in animal class, and the dog says bow bow, bow wow. So now you can see that we have inherited, like we have animal class, we have make an object of animal class, and then we assign the object of child class to the reference of parent class. Here you can see that this is actually called polymorphism, that when you assign the object of child class to the reference of parent class. You can do that because you know that this is super class and this is child class, and we read that through casting, that when you if you want to assign a child class to the parent, so compiler does that without without mentioning anything explicitly. Like for example, when we were converting integer to double, so compiler does not ask anything, and it it does the conversion easily, because integer can easily be converted into double, because integer is of 4 byte and double is of 8 bytes, so conversion will be done implicitly. So here this conversion will be done implicitly, like you are converting the child class, which is a subclass of animal. So you can do this, and this will be done through implicit casting. So I am assigning the object of pig class to the animal, and object of the dog class to the my to the parent class, which is animal. So no explicit uh, uh, no explicit type need to be mentioned here. And here, for example, what I am doing here, my animal dot animal sound. Now this is, you can see that this is also binding, but what I am doing, that I am binding parent object with a child method. Okay, as you know that, because this is called late binding, or late binding, or a overriding. You can do that through overriding. So this is called late binding. And here my pig dot animal and my dog dot animal sound. So here what we did, that you can see here the messages, what the messages are coming, my animal class, but the message is the animal makes a sound. And here the same message, the animal makes a sound and animal makes a sound. If you consider this example, that I have assigned the object of child class, which was pig, to the animal class, which is parent, but the message is coming from the parent class. And here you can see that I have the object of a child class, which was dog, and I assigned it to my parent class, but the message is coming from the parent. Why? So this is the difference between Java and C sharp. C sharp polymorphism, that in C sharp you have to mention some keyword like virtual or abstract if you want to do, the polymorphism. Otherwise, uh, whenever you whenever you want to depict this scenario, like it was mentioned in other languages, so you will always get the message from the parent. Child messages will never come. So this was the problem. So here you can see that the messages always come from the parent if you want to bind your child class object to the reference of parent class. So always you will get the message from your parent, because you didn't mention any keyword like virtual or abstract, which was required in C sharp.net. So you will get the messages from the parent. So I want to mention here this thing. So now, polymorphism, C Sharp provides an option to override the base class method by adding the virtual keyword to the method inside the base class, and by using the override keyword for each derived class. So this, as I mentioned, that if you want to do the overriding in C Sharp, what you will have to do, that you have to mention, you have two options. You have to mention virtual or abstract word in the base class, which is animal in our case now. So you have to mention abstract or virtual method in animal class, and you have to override, you have to write the modifier override in the child class, then the overriding will be done. So this is the key thing you must know if you want to differentiate C sharp from C sharp.net overriding from other object oriented languages. So here you can see that C sharp provides an option to override the base class by adding virtual keyword. Or so you can see here that here we have mentioned virtual method, and in the child class you can see here that we have mentioned override. So now the overriding is done. So here you can see that we have mentioned the override sound, and now the this overriding is done. So you can see that dog and public override animal sound. And now whenever you see the override in child class, this means that you have overridden your parent method, and that method would be in with a modifier virtual or abstract. So here, if you want to do that, like for example, we have the animal object, and I am assigning this my child class object to the parent, and my child class object to my parent dog, to my parent animal of name my dog. So you can see here that whenever you bind the object of object of parent, which is my animal, so you will get the message from the parent method. And if you want to if you bind this the object of child, which was pig, so you will get the vv message of the pig. And if you assign the object of dog to animal, so you will get the bow bow. So this is how the things will be done. Now, I'll repeat that in my next lecture, because this is a big lecture. So I'll explain that again in my next lecture, because you know this is a very important lecture. But you have to take care of a few things before using polymorphism. That for the polymorphism you need some different structure from the other object-oriented paradigms. Like in the polymorphism, you need a parent class and child class, which is also you do in your parent in the concept of inheritance. But you also need same kind of methods, same kind of method in the child class as well. So this is also important, because the child class, what the child classes will do, they will override the method of their parent class. So I'll explain that in detail in my next lecture as well. So now your assignment is that send me the solved example using static and dynamic polymorphism, so that I know that you understand this concept clearly. These are the sources which I have cited. You can explore these cited to learn more about this concept. You can take different examples for understanding this concept. As I mentioned, this is very important topic, and once you get knowledge of this topic, you can understand the usage and the importance of object-oriented programming. So if you have any question, you can ask me through KCMS or WhatsApp. As you know, we have WhatsApp group as well. So if you want to ask anything, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So with that, thank you, and I see you in next lecture. Allah Hafiz.